Hello everyone. If you are somebody who is interested to migrate to Canada via the Alberta PNP stream, you would have noticed online that there has been a change to the way Alberta would process its PNP application. And that change is the introduction of the brand new expression of interest system. What is an expression of interest? As the name suggests, expression of interest is an application where you express your interest to a province for one of its PNP scheme, and then the province would do an evaluation and say and provide you an invitation to apply for its PNP application. So understand expression of interest as a precursor to the actual PNP application. In this particular video, I will take you through the details of the new expression of interest system that Alberta has introduced. So keep watching and I am sure you will get some value out of this good discussion. So first and foremost, let's discuss some of the basic points that were declared in the latest update on 23rd of September. So this is the official text of the declaration that came out on 23rd of September, and in this video and in this particular slide I have tried to summarize these points. So what are the summaries? So this particular expression of interest system will be effective from 30th of September. Today is 1st of October, so this system is already live and I'm sure a lot of people have already started making this expression of interest. This expression of interest is applicable only for the Aaip worker stream, and if you are eligible for any one of the Aaip worker streams, you can make a EOI. Do note that you will be allowed only one expression of interest. If you have any other expression of interest under a worker stream or an entrepreneur stream, you will have to withdraw that expression of interest to make a new expression of interest. Or for any reason, if you have any kind of application which is either in draft or active mode, you will have to cancel that application before you can make a new expression of interest. Just one caveat here, this expression of interest is only for the worker stream. Alberta runs multiple PNP streams, both under worker and entrepreneurs. This particular scheme or system is for the worker stream. Next, how this expression of interest would work. This would work via an online self-declaration for which the applicant would need a basic alberta.ca account. There would be no fee for this expression of interest. You just need a basic alberta.ca account and you would go ahead and do your online self-declaration. I will make videos on how to do this self-declaration step by step, but for now let's go ahead with the fact that this is an online application through the basic alberta.ca account. If you have any higher alberta.ca account like a verified account, you are good, but basic alberta.ca account is the bare minimum requirement for this expression of interest. Once an expression of interest is submitted, Alberta would score each expression of interest based on the latest point grid it announced. I will cover in this particular video details of these points grid, so keep watching on if you want to understand how the expression of interest would be scored and assigned a points. So that I will cover, and once the successful expression of interest is accepted by Alberta, it would go into a pool of worker stream from where Alberta will conduct regular draws. As of the last update that Alberta has announced, they would be starting to do these draws from mid-October to late October. Right now they are only accepting expression of interest. So go ahead with your expression of interest applications, and by the end of October we would expect regular draws from Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, where it will evaluate the expression of interest and then assign points. As I said, let's look into the point system. This point system, Alberta calls it worker expression of interest points grid. Here, each application would be given certain points up to a maximum of 100 points. This particular point system has two major factors. One is human capital factor and another is economic factor. When an application is submitted, it would be evaluated on these two factors and then a maximum of 100 points can be given. Human capital factor, you can score up to a maximum of 69 based on your human capital parameters, and based on your economic parameters you can score another 31 points. So total you can score a maximum of 100 points under this point system. Let's look into each of the factors in detail. So first let's look into the human capital factor. If you look into the official declaration, human capital factor has 5 distinct parameters: education, language, work experience, age, and family connection in Alberta. This is the way they have laid out the basic parameters of the human capital factor. But if you look into the weightage of each of these parameters, we can rearrange this particular parameters in this way, where education gets the most weightage, followed by work experience, then language, then family connection, and then the age. So age gets the least points and your education gets you the maximum points. So education and work experience are at the top of the parameters that Alberta will use to evaluate your expression of interest. If we go into the details, we will look into education, work experience, and language in more details. Family connection and age are very self-explanatory. Let's look into education. Education is evaluated based on multiple factors, and these two factors are your level of education and your level and the location from where you got your highest level of education. So if you have a PhD, you can get a maximum of 12 points, and if your education was done in Canada and specifically in Alberta, you can get a maximum of 10 points. So here is the grid for the official education factor. Under education, you can score a maximum of 22 points, out of which your level of education can give you a maximum of 12 points, and your location of your highest education can give you another 10 points. Things to note here is that these 10 points can be given only to people who have completed their education in Canada. If you have done your education outside Alberta, you will get 6 points. If you have done your education in Alberta, you can get 10 points. So say for example, a bachelor from India who wants to apply can get a maximum of 7 points in this particular stream if they don't have any higher education in Canada. Again, if that same bachelor has done a master's degree in Canada, and if that degree is from an Alberta institute, they get another, so they get 10 points for Alberta education and 10 points for their master's degree, which is the highest level of education, thereby getting 20 points under this particular parameter, right? I hope this is clear to all of you. Next, let's look at the work experience. Work experience is the next highest weightage given, and here also there is a grid which is posted by Alberta, and work experience has two sub factors that would be considered. First is your total work experience, and then your work experience in Canada. So if your total work experience, if you have a total work experience of more than 12 months anywhere in the world, you get 11 points under this particular factor. However, if your work experience includes at least 6 months of experience in Alberta, you get 10 more points. And if your work experience includes 6 months or more work experience in Canada, which is not in Alberta, you get another 6 points. So if you look here, Alberta is giving almost equal weightage to your work experience and your 6 months of work experience in Alberta. So say for example, if you have worked in Alberta for last 1 year, you get all the 21 points here, right? Because you qualify for 11 points under your total work experience and your 6 months of work experience in Alberta. So that is how I think they are prioritizing the work experience and specifically Alberta work experience. Next, let's look at the language, which is the next important factor. Language can give you a maximum of 13 points based on your proficiency of your English or French. In this example, I'm going through English because I'm sure the most of the people who are listening to this particular video and my channel are English speakers and proficient in English. So if you have a CLB in English which is more than 6, you get 10 points straight away. If you get anything less than 6, here is the grid on how your language proficiency would be scored for the Aaip expression of interest scheme. Here you will notice that a minimum of 4 CLB is required. Okay? There is a small clarification is points are determined based on the lowest score of all 4 language competencies. So depending on the lowest score of your listening, reading, writing and speaking, you will be given a score. And say for example, if your minimum score in all these 4 is 6, then you will get the 10 points. If you are scoring more than 6, you are comfortably getting these 10 points. There is another 3 points which is given for the bilingual language proficiency. So for example, if you have a CLB score of 5, a 4 in both English or French, you can get another 3 points for your bilingual capacity. So under language, you can score 13 points, 10 points for your primary language proficiency, and 3 more points for your bilingual capacity. So here also you would see that Alberta is kind of giving maximum points or providing a pathway for the maximum points for English speakers. So even if you are highly proficient in French, you would score only 8 points and then 3 points for bilingual capacity, so maximum of 11 points. But as an English speaker, you have the potential of earning all the 13 points if you are bilingual, right? So this is also a very important factor to look into it. The next 2 factors totally can give you 13 points. One is family connection. With family connection in Alberta, it has clarified that the main applicant's family, if any one of them are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident living in Alberta, you can be given 8 points. Right? One caveat here is in-laws are not considered as family. Only primary applicants, parent, grandparent, child, grandchild, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew are covered, but in-laws are not covered. Right? So if you have in-laws in Alberta, make sure that your spouse is the primary applicant if they can satisfy other conditions. And age. And age is the next factor which is given the least priority. It's given only 5 points. You can score up to a maximum of 5 points. This is something you cannot control. I would say this is just out there. Depending on your age at the time of application, you can get a maximum of 5 points if you are within the age bracket of 21 to 34 years. Even if you are over 34 years, till 49 you lose only a point, like you still get 4 points. But yeah, age is not a very important factor in this particular scheme of things, because you cannot control your age, right? If your age is going up, you cannot control back anything. So this point is not, this particular factor is anyways not in your control, and rightly so, it has been given least weightage. So this is how the human capital factor parameters are there. Let's look into the economic factors. Under economic factors, there are additional parameters where you can get up, which can give you a maximum of 31 points, which is the economic factor. Under economic factor, there are 3 additional parameters depending on your job offer. So if you have an Alberta job offer, you can score a maximum of 16 points, and then based on your location and based on the type of occupation, you can get another 5 points and 10 points. We will go into the details of these as we go ahead in this explanation. So let's first look into the Alberta job offer aspect. Here you can get a maximum of 16 points. If you have a full-time job offer from an Alberta employer, you can get a maximum of 10 points for that particular job offer. In addition to that, if your job offer or if your job relates to any of the priority sectors of Alberta, so if you are interested or if you know some history about the Alberta PNP program, there are certain priority sectors which Alberta has been prioritizing in its previous draws. So rural renewal scheme, the hospitality, tourism and hospitality stream, and the newly announced law enforcement occupations. So these are some of the priority sectors, and for if you have a full-time job offer in Alberta in any of these particular substreams, you can get additional 6 points. So I have covered these particular substreams in my earlier videos. So go to my channel, there are a lot of videos on each of these particular substreams. You will understand what is the rural renewal scheme, what is the tourism and hospitality, and what is the law enforcement occupation. So Alberta job offer, a full-time Alberta job offer has a potential of giving you another 16 points. Next, 5 points are up for grabs for depending on your location. So basically, if your job offer location, if your job location or the location in your job offer, if it is somewhere outside the Calgary and the Edmonton metropolitan area, you get 5 points for those. So if you are looking for a job outside Calgary and Edmonton, you have a potential of getting 5 more points from your job offer. And last but not the least, if you are working in a regulated occupation and you meet the regulatory requirements of that occupation, like licensing or anything, if you have a full-time job offer in Alberta for a regulated occupation, you can get additional 10 points. So that is how you can score a maximum of 31 points under this economic factor. Right? So this is how the 100-point breakup would look like in the new expression of interest schemes. 69 points are reserved for human capital factor, and 31 points for your economic factor, which is basically related to your job offer and your position. So this is what I wanted to cover in this particular session. In the next session, I will go into further details of this new scheme. There are a lot of avenues that needs to be explored about the new system that has been recently introduced, and I hope you guys will join me for those sessions as well. So till then, thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next one.